Hi, if you've ever felt stuck before, you even started gardening because you didn't know what supplies to buy, this video is for you. The truth is, you only need a small intentional amount of supplies to start your organic gardening journey. So today we're going to dive deep into the essential supplies all beginners need to start growing their own organic food. I've also got some surprising recommendations, including a genius find from IKEA. And I'm going to give you my secret weapon that every beginner gardener should absolutely have. Here at Soil Sisters, we don't want to overwhelm you. We want to put things in the right order and we want to put things in the right sequence. We don't want you to buy any unnecessary tools that you don't need to use right now. So in the link in the description below, we have a free PDF for you. It is a supply list, and we have also included the budget-friendly supply list in there. So think of this as a starter kit for growing organic food anywhere in the world. And don't forget to stick around until the end, because my sister is going to give you a tooltip, what she calls God's gift to gardeners. Okay, so let's start going through the supply list. So let's start from the very beginning, and that's seed starting. Now, the first thing you're going to need are seed trays. Seed trays come in different sizes, but this seed tray here, for example, I got free from my local nursery. And I helped a guy out who owned a nursery in Sweden, and he said I could grab as many seed trays as I wanted to. But the other kind that I bought is this kind here. I'm going to show you there's different kinds of seed trays. And this is good because you can buy several of these and keep a few extras. And the good thing about this seed tray too, it's got a lid. So when you're starting your seed, you can put the lid on and it will be like a greenhouse. Okay, so the next thing you're going to need are trays. Now, this is where my genius find from IKEA comes in. I found these at IKEA, and they're actually shoe trays. And they're called bakmuk. And they're only about, I think, $5, €5 a piece. But these are really good because they're sturdy. My budget-friendly tip for seed trays is you can use baking pans, or you can use oven pans. And also you can use old serving trays if they have an edge on them. So the next item you're going to need are pots. These are good for when you need to transplant your seedlings from the seed trays into larger pots. So I got these for free at my local nursery. But another good idea to do is if you buy any plants from your nursery, save the pots so you can use them for transplanting your seedlings. Another thing that you're going to need is fiber pots. Now, fiber pots are pots that you use for any seedlings that have sensitive root systems. Now, I usually seed nasturtiums and zucchinis and a few other things, peas and beans sometimes in these, because when you seed your seedlings in these and they grow into plants, you can pinch off the bottom of the pot and plant them straight into the garden because they're biodegradable. And these are really cheap. I got them at the dollar store. And my budget-friendly tips are for seedlings is you can use an egg carton. This is great because actually once you've seeded in here, you can still pinch off the bottom of the egg carton and plant the seedlings directly into your garden without disturbing the roots. Now, what I do too is I save containers that come from the grocery store. For example, this container had grapes in it and this container had berries in it. Now, this container is great because if you notice, it's actually like a little greenhouse. So save containers from the grocery store. Another tip that I have are toilet rolls. Now, toilet rolls are also biodegradable, and you can use these instead of fiber pots. And what you do is you're going to fold in the ends and turn it into a little pot. You're going to fill it with soil, and you're going to put your little seed in there. And then when you go out to the garden and plant, you're going to rip off the bottoms and stick them straight in the ground. So the next item I have on the list are plant labels. Now, plant labels, you can buy cheap. I got these at the dollar store. Now, when you write on your plant labels, you're going to need to have a waterproof pen. That's very important because when it rains, you don't want the rain to wash away what you've written on your labels. So a waterproof pen is key. And you're going to need to write on your labels what you've planted because you're not going to remember. So I also have some budget-friendly alternatives for labels. Now you can use popsicle sticks. You can also paint on stones with water paint. And another thing that I do when I run out of labels at home is I use one of these, a Tetra Pak. This is a milk carton. And what I do is I cut the milk carton into labels. I'm going to show you how I do that. So what I do is I cut it all here. Don't forget to wash it. What I do is I cut out one of the sides. So once I've done that, I can either cut, if I want long labels, I can cut this way, or if I want shorter labels, I can cut this way. But I like my labels to be a little long. So I'm going to show you what I do. So cut out one of these like this, do a strip, cut it in half. Then you have a little label here, and then you're going to make a little, like an arrow at the end. And have a label. And then don't forget to write what you planted right here. Okay, so the next thing you're going to need for seed starting is a spray bottle. Now, don't skimp on this. Don't buy a cheap spray bottle that doesn't work properly. You're going to want to get something decent in a larger size like this. Now, this one I only spent $5 or about €5 on in a dollar store. So you don't need to buy anything at an expensive nursery, but get a little bit bigger spray bottle. And this spray bottle is great for watering your seedlings because you can pump it to get pressure, and then you spray your seedling. Now, before we continue on, don't forget that you have to buy some seeds. Now, check out our previous video we've done on how to buy the right seeds. High quality seeds are crucial for a great foundation. So what you're also going to need are a pair of good gloves. Now, I don't like wearing thick gloves because that just feels bulky. I love these. They have a rubber surface on them. They're really good when you're carrying a lot of stuff or you're raking in your garden, but they're also a little waterproof, so your hands stay drier with these. These weren't expensive, but you're going to have to find some gloves that you like, and there's lots of different kinds, but my recommendation is always these, and I have a bunch of them at home in case they break and I need to grab a new pair. Another thing that I like to have as a gardener is a gardening journal. Now, I bought this cheap at the dollar store. It was only a couple of bucks, a couple of euros. And in here, I write everything that I do in my garden so that I can always look up the following year and see when I did things. I also, in this book, will write down the temperature it was outside, the low and the high temperature of the day. And then I write the date, and I write everything I did that day. Okay, so this is something I highly recommend because you're not going to remember everything that you do. And this is going to be a book where you can go back to year after year and see when you did things. So let's continue with some basic gardening tools. Now, one thing that you're going to need is a small trowel like this. Now, this I bought at a cheap store. This cost me $1. It cost €1. So you don't need to buy anything expensive. This is going to work fine. This is going to be key for transplanting your seedlings and plants into the garden. The second thing you're going to need is a bucket for your weeds. Now, my favorite bucket is it's called a flexi tub, and it looks like this. Now, I bought this really cheap here in Mallorca, and this did not cost a lot, so you don't need to get an expensive one. But what I like about this is I can easily carry it around my garden. But there are other options. You can use an old laundry basket from home. I've at times used an IKEA bag, one of those big blue IKEA bags. You can also just get an old bucket and put your weeds in there. So the next thing you're going to need is a watering can, and make sure that you get a good sized watering can. Make sure that it's larger than this watering can, because this is something that I use for my balcony at home. The next thing you're going to need is a pair of these, and these are called secateurs or purse. Now, you don't need to get the most expensive kind, but I wouldn't get the cheapest kind either. And this is how it works. You're going to be using this to prune anything that you need to prune in your garden. You're also going to need some string. Now, I found this at a nursery. It's not expensive. I buy this string that's biodegradable because you're going to need to tie up some of your plants, especially your tomato plants. And you might also want to tie up your beans and your cucumbers. Make sure you have string for the spring. So now I'm going to reveal my secret weapon, and that is liquid seaweed. Most beginners don't know about liquid seaweed, and I use liquid seaweed every time I transplant anything. Now, this is remarkable because it contains all the vitamins that your plants need, and they will keep your plants healthy.
You can find liquid seaweed at your local gardening store or nursery, and you can buy it on Amazon. Make sure it's organic.
The next thing on the supply list that I'm going to recommend are grow bags. Grow bags are incredible. These are made of felt. They have great drainage for your plants. What's great about these is you can plant anything in them. You can plant tomatoes, you can plant herbs. And the good thing also is they have handles. So if there's ever a storm, you can run them into your barn, or you can carry all your plants into the basement, and you can save a lot of your plants from storm damage. I'm going to show you another grow bag here. There are grow bags that are great for growing potatoes in. Now, if you don't have a lot of space, these are great. So they look like this. And you can even open up and check to see if the potatoes are ready here. And the good thing about grow bags also is you can fold them up and put them away over the winter, and they don't take a lot of space. Now, these grow bags you can find on Amazon, and they're not very expensive. So if you're on a budget, one thing that you can do is find some old bins or buckets or basically anything you can find at home, but make sure that you drill holes in the bottom so they get good drainage. So you're going to eventually want to also get fiber cloth. Now, this fiber cloth, it's a thin cloth. Get the thinnest kind for the summer season. This fiber cloth, also called garden fabric, will protect your vegetables from insects. You can buy fiber cloth at your local nursery, or you can get it on Amazon. And another thing that you're going to need for your fiber cloth is to get some either tent stakes or some plastic pegs to secure the fiber cloth into the ground. You can get these plastic pegs at a hardware store, and these are cheap, but these are great for the garden. I like the orange ones because I like to know where they are. The gray ones tend to disappear in the soil, and they're harder to see. We're going to talk more about fiber cloth and pegs, and you can also need some PVC pipe hoops for growing some of your food to protect it from pests. We'll get more into that in another video later on in the season. Another thing that you're going to need for your garden is a hose and a nozzle. When you buy a nozzle, don't skimp on the nozzle because you're going to need a good one that doesn't break, and you can turn to different settings. Get one that doesn't leak because otherwise you're going to get wet leaks. Another thing you're going to need for your garden is a compost container for kitchen scraps and food scraps. Now, we're going to get more into compost later on during the season, and we're going to talk about different kinds of ways you can compost. A cheap alternative for a compost container is to get in a bucket with a lid on it. So let's talk a little bit about tool belts, because I know I can't garden without a tool belt. A tool belt is great because you don't want to be running around looking for your tools all the time. That's a waste of time and energy. So I want to show you a couple of different tool belts. Now, I bought these all on Amazon. Now, The first one I'm going to show you, which I like a lot because it's got a deep pocket and things don't fall out of it. And I bought this in a multi-pack. I think there were 4 or 5 in one pack. The good thing about these were that they were cheap, but also they have a couple of extra in case your other ones break. So what I did with this one, it came with a belt, but I took the belt off and I put my own old leather belt on it so it stays sturdy. So this is great to do because you can switch belts. And this hangs down the side. And in the belt, I have pruners and some scissors. So that's good for tools. So another belt that I bought that I like to use in the spring is this belt. Now, this is great to add on to my other belt. But what I can do is I can actually take this off, put this on the belt. I'm going to show you how I do that. Because sometimes you're going to need even more space on your belt to put things in, especially in the spring if you're planting. In this belt here, I can keep my tools. And in this belt, I can keep seeds and strings and labels and all kinds of things in the pocket. A little cookie, a water bottle. So I like having everything on me when I garden. So another thing that I like to keep in my tool belt is a pair of scissors for cutting string and seed packages and things like that. So I have taken a pair of old scissors from the kitchen and put that in my tool belt. My final recommendation, something that I can't live without, is it's called a Cape Cod weeder. And this is what I call God's gift to gardeners. I can't garden without it. It's simple, it's effective, and it saves your back. And what's great about this tool is when you're weeding, instead of using a claw, you're digging up all the roots in the beds, you can go quickly down alongside the root of the weed and get the weed out with minimal soil disturbance. This tool you can buy at Amazon, and it's something I highly recommend, and I don't think any gardener should be without. Once you get the hang of this tool, it's really easy to use. If you are starting your gardening journey with us, the supplies you will need to begin with are on the supply list. So get items 1 through 9. Those are the supplies you need for now. However, I'm going to add one more thing to that list, and that is seed starting soil. So this is important. Always choose organic seed starting soil mix, because the foundation of any successful organic garden is healthy soil, and it starts with your seed starting mix. So organic seed starting soil is a non-negotiable. Visit your local nursery rather than go to big box stores, because they'll have higher quality options and they can also give you personalized advice. So look for mixes that are specifically labeled for organic growing and avoid anything with synthetic fertilizers. So you don't need to buy everything today. Start with a few things that you need and check Facebook Marketplace and garage sales for cheaper supplies, and join a local Facebook group, for example, in your area of gardeners, where you can get tips and you can get cheap supplies. One thing that I did when I lived in Sweden is I joined a Facebook group in my area, and what we did every spring was we all got together and drank coffee and swapped our seedlings before we planted outside in the garden. So find what's local in your area and find a group that you can join so you can ask the questions that you need to have answered. So gardening isn't about having all the tools. It's about having the right tools at the right time. So don't forget, we have a free PDF for you below. It is all the supplies and everything that we have mentioned today. We have also listed our budget-friendly items on the list too. So give us a thumbs up if you feel this video has really helped you in buying the right gardening supplies. And also don't forget to subscribe and put the notifications on for future videos from the Soil Sisters, and where we will go through everything you need and everything you need to do with your garden to grow all your organic food successfully. And remember, there are no gardening mistakes, only experiments. Keep growing and keep learning, and remember, every gardener was once a beginner, so you got this.